Today I'm painting two supermoons in super quick time. These are really easy to do. And I'm also going to show you a little trick so you can get a perfect circle moon. I'm using just three colours. I've got some indigo by Winsor & Newton, some burnt umber by Michael Harding, and I've got some Payne's Grey there by M. Graham. Got this really old 1-inch flat brush. I can't remember the brand, it's rubbed off. It was pretty cheap, I think, at the time. And the good old number 8 synthetic round. Starting off with some indigo. I've got my paint quite reasonably wet, and I painted on a few stripes. Don't overthink it. Put your stripes about a third of the way from the bottom of the paper. This is all indigo. I've dropped a little bit of brown in to get this olive colour, and now some of the pure brown, i.e. the burnt umber. Not mixed in, just dropping in below the line of indigo. And finally, I've got some Payne's Grey now. I'm painting along the top edge on the right hand side. Now I'm hoping that all these colours are going to mingle together. Here's a bit of clean water. I'll just help them along a little bit. And you can see the different colours you get, greys and browns and blues. Lovely. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the top half of the paper using my big flat brush, well, 1-inch brush. The paper today, incidentally, is Bockingford, and I've cut it down from A3 into 4/4, so it's about A5. Does that make it? Anyway, here we go. I've wet the paper along the top, and then I'm pulling my damp brush, and the paint is going to run up into the wet area. You can see from the overhead shot there, the reflection, that the paper is still pretty wet. So you're running a damp brush along the top of some wet paint, and the wet paper above allows the paint to travel up. Now it's not travelled up as far as I would have liked. There's no space for me to put a moon, which is a bit of a shame, but never mind. Let's just paint some more in. So this is back to the indigo. The paper's still very wet. You can see that from the sheen on the paper. And I am painting in with the brush, pretty randomly, a little blob of blue. Okay, I'll let that settle in, and here's some toilet paper and some coins. It's got to be the silver one, silvery moon, yeah. And you just wrap the tissue around the coin and then twist the tissue so you get a circle of toilet paper. Press it down pretty hard, pull it away, and boom, you've got a strange egg shape with dots on it. But never mind, we can fix that. That paper is now dry where we've just blotted out all the paint. So I'm dotting on some water, and that is giving me some random texture, a bit like you get on the moon. Still got a bit of an egg shape going on. So I've got some of my Payne's Grey, and I'm carefully trying to make it more circular. Now I'm going to have a second try at this, and it works better the second time around. So if this happens, don't worry. I know how to fix that little problem, and I'll let you know about that in a sec. Now, because my paper curled up, because I don't tape my paper down, I'm just weighing it down with some mixing jars while it dries. On to the second effort, and this time I'm not using a brush. I am using some pieces of watercolour paper, watercolour card, and I paint along the edge. You could just dip it into your palette if you've got a big enough palette. And instead of painting on the lines, I'm just going to scratch them on or scrape them on with the card. You could, of course, use plastic card for this, store cards or credit cards or whatever. In fact, they're probably better because I'm using paper here, which is obviously absorbing a little bit of the paint. But then again, I'm getting these nice little broken lines and textures, so it's probably worth trying a few. Now, I had a bit of a slight technical problem here, probably user error, but my overhead camera stops recording. So I'm scraping on some of the brown, the burnt umber in the middle section of the painting, and the Payne's grey over on the right, just like in the first one, and then I'm repeating the process. Wet the top half of the paper with the wider brush, the flat wide brush. It's going to be pretty wet, as you can see, and slowly drag the brush along the top edge of the painted line, or the scraped on line in this case. And this time round, the Payne's grey did flood up into the sky, which is what I was hoping for the first time round. Here's my coin. Now this time I really twisted it round and I pressed down along the edge to get a perfect circle. And there we go. A lovely round, clean moon. Let's have a look at that in close up and look at all the way those colours have all mingled together. Beautiful. Okay, here they are dry. There's the first effort, so that's the one that was brushed on. Yeah, quite like that. In the second effort, the effort that was scraped on with some card. I think I prefer that one. Which one do you prefer? Let me know. Here's a last little look. I really like what's going on the left. Nice effects there. And I think I managed to rescue the moon, and then there's the more perfect moon. And I really like the way the colours are mingled, especially over on the right. The Payne's grey and the indigo make this lovely soft violet colour. So there we have it, 2 super moons in super quick time, probably about 5 minutes per painting. I hope you enjoyed that and you learned a few little techniques. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.